I don't see it yet. There it is.
Yep.
242.
Okay, so I'll start. For the record, this is Terry Harmon. I don't think we did a great job of stating it on the record last time, so I'll try to do a better organizational job now. For the record, it is July 17th at 2:30 p.m. This is a session number 3 follow-up to a virtual session, that public bargaining session that we had on July 15th. Present, my name is Terry Harmon, counsel to the school district, negotiator for the school district, and I'll let Ms. Sessa and Mr. Slanker introduce themselves, and then our colleagues on the other side, MCEA representatives, can go ahead and do the same.
Okay, I'm Julie Sessa, Assistant Superintendent of Human Resources.
Jeff Slanker, counsel to the school district.
Martin Powell, counsel for the Martin County Education Association. I'll turn it over to Matt. Sorry, jumped in.
Nope, I was waiting for you to go anyways. Matt Theobald, President, Martin County Education Association.
And I'm Gary Simmons, Service Unit Director for the Treasure Coast Service Unit of the Florida Education Association, which includes Martin County Education Association.
Okay, with that, I guess the ball would probably be in our court to provide some feedback to our last session. I think where we left off on bargaining session number 2 is kind of a record point. Is there were 2 MOUs shared with edits provided by MCEA. One was an MOU that would contemplate part-time release, and the second was an MOU that was contemplating full-time release. And I think where we left off was we were going to further look into whether or not part-time release was something that presently through this MOU was something that our folks would be interested in pursuing, and then also to provide some feedback either way to the different red lines that were provided. And so we are in a position to respond to both. I'll talk about the part-time piece first, and then I'll do the red line side. And so we had a really good discussion about this and an opportunity to kind of go through it. And as I said before, I think at session 1, when the topic came up, I don't think this was something that was contemplated until really that first session. So it kind of caught, I think, us off guard a little bit, but I think we were able to work through what you were looking at doing in those first 3 sessions, to where we were in a position to kind of understand what it is the part-time might look like. And so we were able to have a good conversation to share that with our team. I think as of right now, if you, couple of points to make, the collective bargaining agreement already has language in it that allows for job sharing opportunities. And that would be similar to what I think you've put together, in that the MCEA president could do a job share where they would have to find, or we would have to locate another teacher. They would only have to work a percentage of the day. I'm giving you hypothetical per the CBA. Could only work a half day, for instance, and the other teacher would work the other half of the day. But even in the job share situation, the MCEA president would still be able to access full benefits, 100% of the benefits, so would be able to work half-time. And so the CBA itself, I think, to the extent MCEA was looking at only having its president work part-time and then otherwise serve in that capacity as MCEA president, I think there's already a mechanism in place that wouldn't even require an MOU. Now, if it was where we would be serving the school board as the fiscal agent, of course, that's not contemplated in the traditional job share arrangement. So that would be something MOU-ish. But right now, he could be in the classroom half day through the job share, full benefits. And then for the other half, where there's the salary difference, I guess, that would be between MCEA president and MCEA. I do think, though, that the only impact, aside from benefits, because you would have to, if you did a 50% job share agreement, then the employee would have to pay 50% basically of it. So it would impact the cost out of pocket for benefits, but MCEA could cover that if they chose to do so. The other is FRS calculator. I believe when we tried to look at it, if you go at a halftime situation like that, it may impact the amount that is calculated for FRS purposes, which I think that would obviously be something, a downside to going down that, but there was that mechanism. And so then we moved on from looking at other options aside from the job share arrangement, and the collective bargaining agreement, as we looked through it, didn't really yet contemplate a part-time scenario. And even in the unpaid leave language section, it spoke to the right of the MCEA president to request 1 year of leave to serve in that capacity. It doesn't say partial or part-time, it just says 1 year. And so I think that goes back to really my initial reaction, if I remember, was I felt like some of that stuff would be more at the bargaining table during our traditional discussion of articles versus what I thought we were going into it at this stage on the MOU side was, let's try to figure out a way to make this arbitrator's decision work and maybe fill in the blanks for this coming year. And so I think that's our position now, is we'd rather either go full-time with the MOU. And then if part-time is something that is, and I sensed from our discussions and made it known that this seemed to be the preference, that the part-time preference, if it wasn't through the current CBA job share, might just be something that's better for when we're discussing the articles as opposed to just this MOU. And so with that, that would transition to the second part, which was sharing feedback to your proposed edits to the MOU on the full-time. Before I do that, though, I'm happy if you want to continue to discuss the part-time side of it or anything else. We did, again, have a very meaningful discussion about it. And so I can answer any questions you have on that, or if you just want me to jump to the edits for the full-time MOU, I can do that as well. And Julie, if I didn't capture anything in that kind of overview, I think that's kind of where we came out on it.
Just one that we also had discussion about being able to get it on the July 22nd meeting.
Yes, thank you. So also with timing, assuming that we were able to come to an agreement on the MOU itself, kind of what does the timing of all this look like? And I know we had some different board meetings that were potentials. And I believe what we had looked at is currently there's 2 trim meetings where the board will meet on July 22nd and July 29th. We can have a special meeting attached to the trim meeting. If we were able to reach an agreement on the MOU, we would just have to notice 48 hours in advance a special meeting on the MOU that we would attach to those trim meetings. So I think what we had talked about was, so I think it was either the 20th or the 27th would be the deadline, but because we had to we can publicize the meeting notice through the county commission's website. The preference would be to have this basically done and out the door at the end of this week so that we can get this on the agenda for the 22nd. Is what
For the 22nd, I need to let her know when we're done, because the deadline was the 15th, but they gave us approval if we were able to get through it today. And the 29th is the 22nd, but I agree with you that they wanted it done as quickly as we could on the 22nd, because we want, whatever we decide, that Matt can go new educator orientation and everything lined up that we have for start of school. We don't want him to miss, depending on what we get negotiated.
Yeah, so we were encouraged at least that we wouldn't have to wait till, I was concerned that we were going to be looking at August 20th, which wouldn't serve really well here. So that is the timing of it, was if we can wrap this up, we can get it noticed in time for that 22nd trim meeting. And then if you'd like, I'm happy I can pull up the MOU itself and then give you kind of an explanation of our, guess you would call it our counter to your counter. That's okay right now. See if I can share my screen. What I'll do, let me try to upload it for you first.
Okay.
And
Matt or
then,
Gary, did you have any immediate reaction to the
yeah.
part-time conversation, whether it be the board's preference to move full-time or the idea of the job sharing? We'd have to work through some of the job sharing dynamics a little bit. I think FRS is the key one that jumps out at me, but there may be other things. We just have to think through how that would work, if it is something that would work. But I don't know if there's a lot of questions on that, but I'll open it up to you guys.
I can't really think of anything off the top of my head. That was not necessarily something that I was, it's an interesting route, different than the part of the contract that we were looking at. So I'd have to probably take a look at that section before I add any questions on it.
I don't have any immediate thoughts. I appreciate the summary of your discussion.
Okay. And I put it in, hopefully you can get it out of the chat, but I put the MOU in the chat, but I'm still going to share the screen so we're all looking at the same thing at the same time if I can do that. But
Okay, yeah, I do see it in the chat now.
I guess tell me, do you see an MOU on your screen?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, so the way to identify the changes, I think you should see some purple and some red. The red is the proposal that you had made at the last session. I just left all of your red on here. And then the purple is what I have added, or what we have added as our counter to propose back to you. What I think I have to give kind of a global explanation after we go through the red lines and mesh it all together to where it might make sense. But at least for now, I'll just go through the red lines and then go back and explain in detail the reasons for it. And for each red line, I'll talk. I just did this up here merely for clerical. I thought it was better to spell out MOU instead of just calling it MOU. This was one where your proposal was to strike the supervisor language. Our counter, which I will explain, is to add it back in. At the last one of the deletions you had was this deposit. And instead of doing the deposit, was just adding some language that if there is a change to the costs to where the board may be in a situation where there's some overlap in terms of the amount to be expended versus what has already been paid. We just tried to put something in there so that there's some sort of remedy that if we send an invoice to MCEA saying this was the change, whatever the premium went up, I'm just picking, and that invoice is not covered and the board has since expended it. What we had just put in here is that if the payment is not made as timely required to be made, then the MOU would discontinue or terminate. We wouldn't want to be in a situation where we're sending invoices, they're not getting paid. And in the event of a termination of the MOU for non-payment within time, not that I expect this would happen, not that I expect non-payment would occur. I think it worked well last time. But if it happened, then the board would have the right, if it wanted, to discontinue the MOU. The effect of that would be Matt would just be returned to a position for which he is qualified. that would be the remedy for basically a untimely payment of the overage. Then for the evaluation side, we spent the most time on that, I think, even internally looking at that, trying to come up with a way to have somebody be identified as a member of our instructional personnel, but not be evaluated. And so what we came up with was kind of in line with what we were informally talking about last time, which was narrowing the annual evaluation to be really less about union duties and more about, was there compliance with the annual contract? Was there compliance with the board policies? And was there compliance with the principles of professional conduct? And so that it wasn't unknown, I'll show you in a minute, we tried to create a evaluation form that'll be attached to this as an Appendix B, and I'll show you the instrument in a moment to get your input, of course, and I'll upload that as well. But we just try to create it so that it's clear that we're not evaluating a member who's been assigned to an instructional position, but understanding the differences between this and your traditional instructional position. We tried to embody that. On the indemnity, no issues with most of your deletions. I just added this additional language on, but still kept it to matters that are brought by a person or entity arising from actions taken while the president of MCEA. On number 9, where you had added that he is still entitled to all the rights provided to union officers, I just added an S there. And then put subject to the limitations and other provisions set forth in the CBA, because the CBA may have some things in there that we've negotiated already that would apply to the conduct. So we just want to make sure that the rights that your union president would have are also the rights that are identified and limits to those in the actual CBA. Just change the appendix number here. This just more grammatical and clerical. And then for number 14, I know, if I recall, the discussion that we had about why that was deleted was, I think MCEA's position was that it was really superfluous of other language in the agreement, speaking to the fact that this would sunset as of June of 2025. And also the language that says that this is an MOU, which by its terms are not a part of the contract. And I just know from our side, even though we don't necessarily disagree with you that the language of this is attempting to restrict it to just this, that we would, I think, feel more comfortable if this language is in there, even if it is redundant of other language in there. And our thought would be, if your position is it's redundant of other language in there, then there shouldn't be a concern keeping it in there. I think it's just the way the language is spelled out is something that our side felt strongly needed to remain. The other piece I'll share now is the appendix. And then I know you all may want to have some time to talk through this separate from us, but let me attach. The appendix is pretty straightforward. I tried to make it as straightforward as possible. But let's see.
Terry, once you get done with this, would it be possible to email this document as well? I just can't download it from the chat for whatever reason. I could read it on the screen, so we're good on that front. I just, in case there's.
I'll email it to all of you. This is the appendix. Tell me if it shows. Is it on your screen now?
Yes.
Okay. So Appendix B, evaluation of teacher on special assignment. And so I took those 3 things that I referenced: compliance with policies of the board, compliance with annual contract, compliance with the principles of professional conduct. it's a yes or no question. If there is a no answer, then it requires the supervisor to attach a separate document explaining why it was no. And again, tried to be simple. The other performance in here, welcome to any comments. We had tried to work on, or I'm not sure if it's currently the one, but a job description for the teacher on special assignment, just so there's some parameters. And we put in this evaluation some things that we would expect the teacher on assignment to be doing if the teacher on assignment is to serve in the capacity as MCEA president, is professional development, assistance to colleagues, and a resource on committees. So we just tried, again, just have something that was created still a meaningful, appropriate evaluation without trying to engage in the business of MCEA. Again, the reason why the supervisor language, and I know I'm going to stop sharing and email this. I know one of the hesitations that you'd said, I think, Martin, during our last session was we don't feel comfortable with somebody supervising the MCEA president. And I get that. And I think we're cognizant of that too. But you still in this situation where it's a full-time release are in a position where the board will have to approve placement within that position. And we looked at the language in statute off the top of my head. I think it's 10-12-3-3, but I can be more specific. But the language that requires the school districts or the superintendents to have shall approve evaluation systems for all instructional administrative personnel, is we just couldn't find a way out of it. But we tried to, by adding back in the supervisor, really make it clear that what the supervisor's evaluating are going to not be the business of MCEA, but more, are you following the policies and the code of ethics, really was our goal. So let me email, I think I stopped sharing. So let me see. You sent it on the 15th, I believe. I can just respond to your email and I'll attach both of these to it. Let me see if I do
we
this right.
appreciate that. I think probably, I don't know, Matt and Gary, just while he's doing that, I don't know if you guys have immediate questions. I know we probably want to have a caucus, so to speak, and have a conversation. I will say, just for while we're here, while they're thinking about if they want to add anything or asking clarifying questions before we do that, we did have some internal conversations, or I did, with some of the folks at FEA across the state, and the agreements kind of do run the gambit on the evaluation piece. So there are some that, waive it, whatever. I hear what you're saying, right? There's some that waive it, but then there are some that have created something very similar to what you have done here in terms of trying to come up with something based on the same justification. So I have seen a number of those. I just wanted to say that because I know it was something that kind of caught me aside, but it does appear that this is something that's been grappled with in all these other scenarios, and we've had to come up with workarounds or kind of whatever we want to do. And so I appreciate your effort to do that, recognizing the concerns we had with that. So I do appreciate that. We'll have to talk about the tool itself a little bit internally before we say, yay or nay, but
Sure.
I appreciate that.
Okay.
Gary, you have an immediate reaction to some of this?
Just a couple things with respect to the language of requiring supervision for the president. I just want the record to reflect that wasn't our immediate concern through the execution and the implementation of President Resinidi's president release. This was brought up as a concern from someone that spoke out in the public speak out section. So there never was a concern with the union per se that there was a conflict of interest, nor was there concern on the district side about a conflict of interest. We're merely having this discussion because of an accusation of a conflict of interest arising from someone in a public speak out session. So I just want the record to reflect that. I don't think that this addition initially was our thing, because Tyson Bilwak was Karen's supervisor in the execution of the former implementation. And the second reaction that I have is with respect to the insistence of including the language preventing an interpretation of a past practice, right? It's I have no issues with it, but it just makes us look a little bit ridiculous because it fails the mere definition of a past practice as something that's agreed by both parties that happens several times, and then it's interrupted. This is supposed to occur from the beginning of the school year to the end of the school year. So by labor law definition, how could that even qualify as a past practice if we're only doing it for this academic year? It's not something that's done, or we're not signing a 3 or 4 year memorandum of understanding. It's a 1 year thing that has a sunset date. So how would it even, by definition, fall under a past practice? Like, I'm okay with keeping it on there. I'm just saying that it makes us look like we don't understand what the definition of a past practice is.
Can I provide you a simple response to that?
Please.
From your mouth to the words of the arbitrator who rendered a decision saying that an MOU was a past practice.
Okay.
So
all right.
If you want to take that position, I'd love it because I don't disagree with you. So I think that's
ever-evolving interpretations, man. Legal interpretations are ever evolving.
I agree.
Yeah.
I understand.
Yeah, but that's my just immediate reaction. I'll appreciate the opportunity to discuss with my colleagues.
Yeah, I think it makes sense to try to caucus now and see what we see how close we are. Right, we're working on a timeline here, and bring back questions, concerns that we can start to resolve. So if you guys are willing to hang out, then we'll have some conversation on our end, and we'll try to. I mean, we're down to relatively small, not issues, but few issues, and so it shouldn't. We can probably knock out our concerns pretty quick and give them back to you.
Can I offer something real quick? If you want, the job description for teacher on special assignment is on our website, and it's very old. I think it's like 2005 or so. What I did is actually looked at Hernando County had like 3 or 4 special teacher on assignments, and Terry and I looked to find the most innocuous bullets to put on there. And I know Matt serves on committees, so that's one we grabbed. So Terry, do you want to send them the draft?
Yeah, I'm happy to do it. And
I'll update it. It's in our new format, and it's not like the one that we currently have on the website. We would like it to be updated and associated with this agreement. So while you're breaking, if you could take a look at that as well, I would appreciate it.
Yep. Let me see if I have the most recent one, Julie. I
only did that one, so.
I know. Okay, so then it would have been, here we go, July 10th.
Yeah, I think I drafted it after our first, or I don't know when I did, but I knew when I looked at the one we have, it doesn't make any sense. So if we're going to do this, let's make it make sense and tie it to the evaluation tool that we're kind of looking at.
I think this is it. So let me press send, Martin.
Okay.
And you'll see when we were trying to do, to Julie's point, when we have one teacher on special assignment who would be fulfilling the role of the president of MCEA, understanding it's an employee, is we've tried to come up with, I like Julie's words, innocuous, but a very, I'll say specific, but still broad. Like we wanted the job description to reference that these were going to be acting in the capacity of MCEA president, but at least still have some idea of what that meant since it's an employee of the district. And so we just pulled from a couple of different districts. Some were very lengthy, some were short. And I think we just preferred kind of the more general kind of things that MCEA president might be doing without trying to legislate in any way the activities of the president. So that's kind of the background.
I see that. Looks relatively simple and vague, not vague, but broad. So yeah, we'll take a look at it, talk about it.
Okay.
Thank you guys.
Okay, we'll just hang around for you.
We'll leave this meeting and then rejoin, I guess is what we did last time.
Yep.
Okay. I'll call you guys.
Okay, we'll see you in a few. And Julie, I think you can stop recording.
It
There?
is.
All
Yep.
right,
We're
good
back
deal.
on the record.
Start that. Do I have to go? Why isn't it showing me over here? Do I have to go back to chat? Oh, there
Yeah,
it is.
the
Okay.
chat will show you when it started.
Awesome.
All right,
409.
we're back from our caucus here at 409. So we had a lot of conversation, obviously, about this, just to make sure we've worked through everything. I've got more comments than changes, just to make sure that you understand, or we're all on the same page on where we're going. Most of our conversation, frankly, was under the job description, the evaluation, and the supervision, right? That's the kind of key thing that we've been talking a lot about. And I think, you know, like I said before, as we were walking away, you know, we were acknowledging that this is something that there's a compliance issue on, and the districts across the state have worked it out in a lot of different ways. And so we really do appreciate the effort to kind of come up with something that doesn't run afoul of you know, my sensitivities about agreeing to this. And so I think we're pretty close on everything. We've got one kind of maybe change or suggested change, and more comments. So I'll just go through them step by step. Are you guys still there?
Yep.
Okay. Number 4, where you guys put the individual determined by the superintendent. Would you be acceptable to mutually agreed upon by Mr. Theobald and the superintendent? An individual mutually agreed upon by Mr. Theobald and the superintendent, just to ensure that, you know, we're not whipsawed here. I don't think that's anyone's intent, but, you know, I think having a mutual agreement on that person would basically resolve our other concerns about the job description and the evaluation, right? If we know, if Matt knows who that person is experienced and trustworthy, and he knows he's not going to get, you know, some weird outcome, I think that he'll feel more comfortable leaving your job description as you've proposed it, your evaluation tool as you've proposed it, all no changes. So that's I think maybe even the one change that we're suggesting in this whole thing, but I'm going to talk through all of them. Number 6, where you guys have added the if we don't remit payment in 7 days, the board may terminate the MOU. I mean, we're not objecting to it. We'll leave it in there if it makes your folks happy. I think, you know, the comment made for the record is like, you know, we're paying a month in advance. We've done this. There's no reason to believe we're not going to make the payments. So it feels a little bit like a gotcha that's not needed to us, right? It's like, well, when they fail to pay us, we'll have them. Well, we're not going to fail to pay you. But again, if it makes you feel more comfortable to have something like that in writing, as opposed to just kind of, you know, if we fail to comply with the MOU, I'm sure that's what the board was planning to do anyways, then we're acceptable of that. Again, on number 7, where you've added the evaluation, we don't have any, you know, concerns with the tool that you provided. You know, again, I think the hope would be that there's a mutual agreed upon evaluator, supervisor, or, well, let me make this, the assumption is the supervisor is probably the same person that evaluates. So if we mutually agree upon the supervisor, then I think we're less concerned about that tool. No changes to 8 or 9, I guess it is now. No concerns about subject to the limitations and provisions in the collective bargaining agreement. Obviously, those have been negotiated in, and Mr. Theobald agrees to abide by them. And then, you know, Gary made the comment on number 14 about the past practice. It's not our intention to do that. We understand that it sunsets at the end of the year, but again, if it makes you more comfortable or your board more comfortable to have that language in there, if it gets us closer to an agreement, then I think we're happy to have what we believe to be relatively redundant language. The only other comment that we'll make is, you know, we talked a lot about the part-time release, and you proposed today kind of a new idea, which is this job share completely subject to any sort of release time, but really just kind of a job share with the district, release time with the union. On the other side, and we haven't had a chance to like look at what that looks like with an FRS standpoint. So we're not here to accept that or deny it, just that we're kind of hoping that, Matt's had he always has conversations with administrators and the people in the schools, and he'll correct me if I'm wrong here, but his conversations thus far have been like, yeah, we'd love to have you. You'd help us do the thing we need to do to show our success. We really only need you part-time, so that'd be great. We have the board and the comments made by the folks last year when it was regarding President Resinetti that seemed to allude to a desire to have him providing value to the board, to the students, to actually be in a classroom. And we have MCEA separately saying like, yeah, this makes a lot of sense to have our president actually in the class, be really close to our members, really feeling what the members are feeling, what the students are going through, that same thing. So there, while we don't have agreement on that, I want to just kind of put out there that it seems like it really would benefit from the board side, from the actual student side, from the admin side, and from MCEA side, if it's something we could come to terms with. And so we want to come to an agreement here. So I don't want to get in the way of that, but we also want to leave the door open to kind of continued conversation, whether it's at the bargaining table or whatever, as the needs are developed in the district. And again, assuming the admin is saying to their supervisors what they're saying to Matt, like, hey, it'd be great to have someone do this, then like keep it in the back of your mind as something that I think would be beneficial on all fronts. And so something that I think is relatively easily worked out. My concern about the proposal, that just candidly, my own concern, and not having done any research about the proposal that you came in with, the job share, is that I think there would be a shortfall in his FRS of the 0.5 that he's not working. And there's probably workarounds to that. We just haven't come up with them this afternoon. So that may be a solution down the line. I just don't know. But I just want to make sure that the parties kind of keep that in their mind as a possible solution to some of these concerns that have been raised over the last 2 years. Because I really do think that there's something there, if we can get to the details of it, and whether that's in the future or not. I mean, I know you got to bargain, you got to go through some stuff, you got to have more conversations, but it really does seem to answer the practical concerns. It seems to be hung up more on a, I don't know what the best way to say it, but it's more hung up on kind of a, gut feel of like, this is new and I don't like it. And I think that as you kind of identify, you guys kind of identify the needs of the students in the schools, I think it might present itself as an opportunity. So I want to put that out there as something that I don't think that the party should foreclose, whether or not it's the result of this negotiation or not.
Martin, can I interject? Yeah. So, and I appreciate your explanation on that. And I just kind of wanted to add on to what Martin was saying, because, when Terry, when you had come back to us with the district's recommendation about a job share, which was essentially the conversation that I had with the first administrator that I spoke to last week, and it was sort of the what you're describing in the contract is basically the scenario, the very real scenario that's available right now. Subsequently, I heard back from another administrator today who she had said that she would love to have me on campus, given my background in social studies, that they have a need at her school. The only problem is they don't have an allocation. They wouldn't necessarily need an allocation, or they wouldn't necessarily need a full allocation. That a part-time allocation would be sufficient to meet their overflow needs in their social studies department. It would be mutually beneficial because that's exactly what I would be looking for. I'm uniquely qualified because I am a social studies teacher. And what's more is that the program that this school uses for credit recovery and whatnot is the same program that I had been teaching in my classroom for the past 10 years. So I'm trained in the computer system. I know the stuff. And as a teacher of seniors, I have a pretty good track record of helping to improve this district's graduation rate. And that would be in addition to educating these children in social studies. That would be my other main objective, is working on the district's graduation rate, which is something that I have a pretty good track record of. So, I mean, in my opinion, a part-time allocation or a part-time position of this nature benefits the district. It benefits the union, but I think most importantly, it's good for the kids. It's good for the kids who would get real meaningful assistance in achieving their graduation requirements. So, like Martin said, I would hate for the lack of the unknown to be the prohibiting factor here. I think that I don't know that every school has the ability to take on a part-time employee in my situation. But I mean, so far I've reached out to 2 administrators, and both administrators said that there was a need for somebody like me in a part-time capacity. So I was worried that there wasn't going to be anybody. And we're 2 for 2. And I'd be willing to bet that other high schools, the other high schools, I haven't reached out to them yet, but the other high schools would gladly accept help, substitute teaching and things of that nature. So I only see an upside in this situation. And I understand that it may be something that requires being addressed at the bargaining table in a full session, on down the road. I totally understand that. It makes perfect sense. We're happy to have those conversations, when the time comes. But I just don't want this to be the end of that discussion, because I think that discussion is very meaningful and very beneficial to, again, not just you, not just us, but to the students of this district. And as a product of Martin County Public Schools and somebody who spent his entire life here in Martin County, that means more to me than anything. So if I can help in that fact, I'm more than willing to serve in that capacity. And I want the board to know that.
I'll definitely relay that. I guess, should I, and we will make that known. Maybe work backwards in order, just to kind of follow up on a couple of the comments that you made, just a couple. On the job share release time, I think what I was trying to convey when I gave the opening on that was when we kind of went through and analyzed what it was you were seeking, is when we went through the CBA, just wanted to, we had already identified that there appeared to be a mechanism already there where if the job share was pursued and it was more of a part-time role in a full-time position, it would still get those access to benefits. And then MCEA, who, as it sits right now with the proposed MOU, MCEA is already paying all the portions that the board would pay. And so if there was a lapse, I don't want to say a lapse, but if there needed to be an FRS makeup, MCEA would already be paying that anyway if you were on full-time release. So that, I wouldn't say it was a proposal necessarily, but I think what we were looking at was, I think he can do this already without any MOU. It's already a way that it's built in. So that's kind of as far as we got. We didn't look at it as deep as, well, if it was a job share 50% of the time, would we still need to do release time? I think we identified that the mechanism was there, so let's see how that goes. But just to give you that background on it, a little bit more on the why the job share played into the conversation.
Hey,
I
Terry,
won't.
I'm
Yeah,
sorry
don't
to
tell me I
interrupt
was
you.
on mute the whole time.
No, silly. I just got to notice that the meeting is 5 more minutes and is Teams going to cut me off or can I ask to extend it? Do you know?
I don't think it cuts you off.
Okay, sorry. That's all. I didn't want us to
If
just
it
go.
does, we can just resend a link and we'll all jump right
Okay.
back on, or I can
Okay.
finish in 5 minutes.
Just
The-
wanted you to know in case it happened.
On the, and again, I'm not going to hit each point on the gotcha part. And I know that's the feeling that you said that this kind of like, if there's a non-payment, it seems kind of harsh when we've been good to you the last time we did this. Understand that. I guess the only thing I'll say so that you don't feel like it's a gotcha, if there's any way to do that, is I think the biggest issue, even that what was talked about at the arbitration time, and that was discussed even when we brought this up, was the board did not want to be in a position where it was funding activities that were not supposed to be funded. And so they felt very persuaded that there needed to be a clear way as a remedy that if we were overstepping that prohibition, that we could back out. Again, not expecting, and you say this every time we do contracts, we never expect the other side to do the negative or to do the bad, but you contract for contingencies. And I just think it's more of a comfort level knowing we're not going to be in a position where we're potentially floating for a period of time. And again, I know that's not your intent. That's the background of it. It's not hopefully they missed this payment and this can happen. It was more of a making sure that we had some protections there. Again, whether that eases the feeling on your side of the table, that's just felt like I owed you a response on that. On the supervisor part, I guess I would, I don't know how the district would overall feel about having an employee be able to decide who their supervisor is. At the same time, I understand what you're saying. I guess what I would throw out there, and it's maybe a conversation I'll throw out there before talking to Ms. Sessa, is if we know who the evaluator might be before there's any MOU finalized, if we were able to identify the evaluator in the MOU, then there wouldn't need to be a subject to mutual agreement. You'd already be able to sign off on who it was. I think we would just have to put some conditional language that said, in the event the evaluator leaves the district or is otherwise employed in a different capacity, then the superintendent might have to have that discretion. But I get where you're coming from and the why behind the ask. And so maybe we could talk offline just for a minute about whether that's a possibility, to tell you who the evaluator would be and put that within the MOU. If that might help a little bit.
I mean, I think that would help. I mean, I think, to your point, if we're agreeing to that person, we are agreeing to that person.
Right. That's what I'm saying. Like,
And we would need
So I don't-
terms if something happened to that person too, though, hoping that wouldn't, but if for some reason, like Terry mentioned, they left or served in a different capacity or role, that we would have to come back and select someone else.
so could we take maybe 10 minutes, let us chat? I guess we'll go into a caucus somewhat. If you just want to, maybe better since Julie set up the meeting, if you all want to sign off and then come back into the lobby in like 10 minutes, and then we'll just admit you. I just think we just need a couple of minutes to work through that. Just to see if we might know who it might be.
Will it
And
let,
then
will it let us back in if the time's expired?
you will stay in, the three of us can stay in.
Okay,
They
okay,
can go, and then after, like at 4:40, if you want to re-enter the lobby, and then if we're running a couple minutes late, we'll just hold off on admitting you.
Leave it there.
But
Yeah.
10 minutes, I would say, is all we need.
Okay.
Okay. So then we'll stop recording at, I guess it timestamps it, and then see y'all in 10 minutes. Okay.
That's it.
You're muted, Miss Sessa.
it's because I, was trying to be, okay, 4:59.
Got it. Okay, let me write it. Okay, so thank you for the break and the time. Fortunately, was able to get some information that we could share, since it really seemed like coming out of the last caucus, really there's only one item on the MOU that was a proposed language change. And I'm glad we took the break because I was able to go get an understanding of what the district's expectations were going to be for this anyway, for purposes of supervisor. Again, I think from our perspective, just not comfortable with the MOU allowing there to be a bargain, basically making it a topic of bargaining who an assigned supervisor might be. But was able to find out who we would propose that it was going to be if it impacts your decision-making process as to whether or not the MOU is acceptable. And that was Troy LaBarbera would be who we would identify if it gave you a comfort level in the body of the MOU. The only caveat I'll say is, of course, Troy wins the lottery and buys an island in Hawaii, we would have to assign a new supervisor. And I don't think we'd be open to the language saying mutually agreed upon. But I think what we could say is, for purposes of the 24-25 school year, the teacher on assignment or Mr. Theobald's assigned supervisor shall be Troy LaBarbera. In the event there's any changes in Mr. LaBarbera's status, the superintendent would assign a separate individual, something along those lines. Just that, if necessary, due to changes in employment, a different supervisor would be assigned. But that's where we would plan, and hopefully Troy's obviously with us the whole year, and that doesn't become an issue. So if you all want to think about that, or if you're comfortable talking it out now, I'm going to make some changes. We're trying to get also, there was a reference. So Appendix A was
Village.
the millage, which we all have. Exhibit B is the supervisor or the evaluation instrument that you have, but Exhibit C was the appendix for the contract. And so Ms. Sessa's working separately to get a blank contract, blank meaning the no employee name on it, that we can attach as Exhibit C, Appendix C. And then the other just clarification on the job description, it's not really something I think we're attaching to this MOU because the board's got to approve it, but just wanted you to see where we were on that, and then have it serve as an explanation as to why we had added those couple of things to the bottom of the evaluation tool. So just making sure that we clarified that.
Yeah, no, I think that makes sense. I think we understood that it needs to go through the normal processes. Matt, Gary, any questions to this? I think it sounds like what we expected coming out of that caucus. So I think we're like very, very, very close. But not any questions about that?
Well, my one big question is, you know, if Troy is my evaluator, do I have to listen to his dad jokes? Are those going to be reflected in my evaluation, or
It's not on the tool, so
okay.
no.
In that
He
case, we
tells
could
dad
add-
jokes.
I'm a father now myself, so maybe we should add a dad joke component to that evaluation. Although I don't think I could compete with Troy. He's next level when
He's
it comes
another
to
level. Another level.
Yeah.
Do we want to take I don't know, 3 minutes right now, 2 minutes, whatever it takes, and try to get this thing to a conclusion? You want to let us do that, or is that the
Sure.
best? I think probably.
That you
Okay.
mean you all
Okay
drop
with that?
off separately, talk about it? Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
just
I'm
for,
gonna
like,
draft some
yeah.
language while you're doing that.
Okay. All right. We'll be back.
Okay.
All right, I'm stopping recording. All right.
All right, I'm
Stop.
gonna
I'm filling up a whole page with caucus.
how it
I know,
works.
I know.
All right, we
It's
started
sometimes the way it goes.
5:16.
Okay, so yeah, we are comfortable with your proposal on that language. We have one kind of overarching clarifying question, which I think I understand, but want to make sure. So, I think we're good with the name you provided, and are good to move forward on that front, which is great. The clarifying question is is the concept you proposed with the job is back to the part-time conversation and the conversation we had, but the concept you proposed with the job sharing, I think, is interesting, and we'd like to continue to explore that if the part-time becomes something that Matt, MCEA, want to pursue, right? I don't know. But my question ultimately is if, second semester, that becomes something that would be interesting to MCEA and interesting to Matt, does this MOU foreclose that, or would we, because that wouldn't require any action by the board, we would just withdraw his request for leave or come back from leave, be hired into a position, you guys would have to hire him, and then we wouldn't be asking you to do anything. I mean, that I just want to make sure I'm understanding that correctly, because I don't think in that concept under the split job that required any new action. It exists already, right?
Yeah.
And I don't know, I just don't want to foreclose that opportunity if it's something that, I mean, I just think after talking about it, it sounds like something that everyone on our side is kind of like, that might be interesting. But if we enter this MOU and then halfway through the year or whenever we find a position, does this foreclose us doing that? Or is once he's on leave for the year, he's on leave for the year, no matter what? Does that make sense?
I get what you're asking. I'm just trying to think of the answer to the question. Because I was trying to pull up. I completely understand what you're asking. Let me look at something. I was going back to the request for leave just to see what it said, the pending one. And it just says for the 24-25 school year. So I don't know, but we can try to have that conversation if you want a position on that. We're happy to pause, go have a chat, come back on. I don't want to mislead in any respect. I just don't know the answer as we're sitting here without double checking the CBA and just seeing how that works, because the superintendent is the one that ultimately approves the leave request. And so
Right. So
that's what I don't know because it's never happened, right?
right. But what's the process of coming back from leave? Can you come back from leave early if I mean, otherwise, if
You mean
I don't know.
not presidential leave, like somebody
no,
who
yeah,
just,
like FMLA or whatever, right?
Yeah.
You ask for 12 weeks, you get it off, then you come back after 9. What's the process? I don't know. I mean, I don't know the answer. I think probably would like to know for Matt's sake. I mean, the concept's interesting to us, and so we don't want to shut it down if if it's something that he wants to do. But
Let me see.
but I don't.
Looking at something real quick. I was just pulling a board policy just to see out of curiosity another form. Like I was looking at the policy on professional leave, and it doesn't speak to, if you're granted 3 weeks of professional leave and you elect only to take 2, can you change that? I don't know. And the only reason I'm hesitant is I don't know that when the superintendent is making the decision as to whether or not to renew the leave request, if the expectation is it's being renewed with the understanding it's an entire year, there are staff planning that goes into place, like where will I have a teacher at different schools if we just all of a sudden at October said we're going to back out of doing the MOU and we just want to go back to a regular position. I don't know what dynamic at all that causes without just having a quick chat, but we can vet it if you'd like to take a break and give you a better understanding of how that might work out before you do anything. I think I understand that.
I think probably that we would appreciate that. And I think, obviously I don't know that this is a likely scenario, but in the scenario in my head, at least, it would be because there was a position, right? We wouldn't be like backing out and saying, we're back, like, figure it out, guys. We'd be saying like, hey, like this position opened up. It kind of fits what we were talking about. Maybe it's the time to do it.
You're right. Because the job share requires a position and a partner basically to do the job sharing with. So presumably there'd have to be a position
to do that. I mean, maybe I'm wrong about that. I mean, I guess.
No, I think that's right.
It could,
I think you're right, Martin. I think the job share language of the CBA contemplates that 2 employees can basically share a full-time position, and then they would pay proportionate to the time that they work. And so you'd have to have a second person to fill that other side, but you'd have to have a position to fill. So you're right. I don't think there would be what position do we put a person in if there's already a job share request in place. The page of the CBA that it appears on, it's on page 7 of the actual CBA. Just looking to see if it addresses it. I mean, deadline for application for job sharing is May 1st. That's problematic. So I don't know. Let me see. Yeah, the problem is that right now the language being May 1. To your partner. I mean, look, I guess I could say it this way. I could offer this to you. If that's a critical component of your team's decision here, we could always look at the language of the MOU, agree upon the language, or put a pin in it, come back tomorrow for a brief follow-up session, or Friday for a brief follow-up session if you need a further explanation. But if I'm going off the cuff right now, just reading the language of job sharing deadline would have passed already. But I don't know how that might play out in a different situation without finding out.
But Terry, I'm just thinking of looking at the CBA. I'm reading what you're saying, and I'm not. How is a May 1st deadline even practical? So like if I'm getting hired on in the district for 24-25, May 1st of 2024, I was not even I mean, I'm hypothetically speaking, I'm new to the district, I'm new to the county, right? I apply for this teaching position and I said, well, but I can only do it for, half the day. How does a May 21st or May 1st deadline of last school year, how would that affect my ability to apply for that job for the next school year? Wouldn't it be May 1st of 2025 that this deadline would take effect? Because I could see not wanting to do a job share for the last month of school. No, you can't do part-time for the last month. You're either going to do it at the start of the year or the beginning of the semester, but you're not going to do it, for the last month. So, I mean, I just don't know why that deadline, and I'm legitimately asking for clarification, because that doesn't make any sense to me.
I don't know the answer as we're sitting here looking at this. Why May 1 was selected by the parties as the date, I don't know.
Yeah.
It's in the contract, so it could be something that we could look at
That's what I
changing,
think.
right? So it's funny how you can have a whole different view and go, wonder why we did that.
Yeah. Look, if there's hesitation, I'm trying to offer a solution as best as we can, but do you want to, I'd say let us know how you want to proceed. If you want us to look into it a little bit more, I can at least show you the language that I tweaked on the MOU if you'd like.
Sure. Yeah, sure.
If you just want to at least knock a couple things out, I'll share my screen. I can do this right. Does it show MOU on my screen?
Yes.
All right, hold on. I'm going to do it a different way. Tell me if that comes up on your screen. MOU?
Correct. Yep.
So the red is what I changed.
Okay.
And then I added it, tweaked it down here. Where did I put it? Oh, right here. I think that's it doesn't show the whole red line, but I think that's what I plugged in and previously said by the individual selected by the superintendent. I just added that highlighted.
Okay.
And that was the only change I made since the last volley.
Okay.
And not to be nitpicky, but my last name, on number 7, my last name was spelled incorrectly on that.
Did I?
Oh
yeah.
The second one.
Not picky. I don't want wrong misspellings. I don't know why I did that.
Everybody always assumes I'm bolder than I really am. I don't get it.
I don't know why. I don't know what happened, but so I unshared it. But what I'm going to just do is at least accept all the changes. I understand you're still contemplating. I'm not trying to rush anything by any stretch, but I know when I accept all the changes, it's probably going to kill this document because we're not amending. It's a new document, so it doesn't need to show track changes.
Right.
But I just want to make sure.
Good to me. I guess on the other piece, I mean, I'm only thinking about, and I don't even think this is necessarily a likely outcome, but if there is, so maybe the job share doesn't make sense with that May deadline. I don't understand where that fits in either, but we have to look at that a little bit. But I guess my assumption was, and Matt may be able to correct me if I'm wrong here, because you guys know better than I, that that whole concept, the job share part-time concept, only worked if there was an existing position or a position like a place where that fit, right? And so my assumption with the ultimate question I have, and again, Matt, please correct me if I'm wrong, is that if we were coming back to you in December or January saying like, hey, Matt found this position, like, can we come back from leave? It would be because there was a position, like a position like not that we created or not generated, but like that existed, right? Is that how that would work, or am I misstating that, Matt? Gary,
I don't have any familiarity with it.
okay.
Julie might be the best person to answer that as assistant superintendent of HR. I'm sure you've dealt with a lot of job share requests and stuff like that.
Can you please restate the question?
I guess like it would only be filling an existing need is what I guess I'm suggesting, right? That there would be a position available, there would be a job share arrangement set up, and then that and this other person would apply for that, and
Right.
That's how that would work. They wouldn't come to you, or would they come to you and say, we are here to share a job, but we want you to create a job for us. Like there would have to be a job, I would assume.
There have to be what
And
we
if
would
that
call.
were the case,
Oops, sorry. Yes.
no, that's correct. I guess I'll stop.
Well, how it works here is we have to have an allocation. So we have to have the need based on the students at the school and the subjects, like when you get higher, like up into high school, that we have a need for a history teacher, say in high school. And I think how sometimes it organically happens, and it's not just like Matt having had a child. It could be that another person had a child. And both of those people only want to work part-time, and they're certified in the same area of need at the same school. So I think organically how this developed is throughout the years, based on the age, I would say, of the humans that work for us, that there is maternity and paternity leave, and that we developed this so that if they wanted to do part-time, that there was a way for the qualified certified individuals to still work for us, but work part-time, and they'd both get half-time benefits and just have to pay for half. And sometimes it's only good for a year because they wanted to stay home half-time with their child. It just kind of depends. So right now I did ask, Jeff Raymond said we have one person inquiring for, but I think maybe she's retired from an ESE self-contained unit and she would like to only work part-time. So when I asked him, is there any job sharing posting requests out there? And he said, that's all I have right now. So other
Right.
than that, we don't really have any working now. It's not an heavily used item, but it is a coveted item, I would say, for those that are trying to work part-time and either have some other situation where they can work part-time, but they still want to, be a teacher. And so it does have to be approved by the principal, that they're good, that the classroom can manage Matt in the morning and Julie in the afternoon type of a thing. That type of thing. But I think it's something we could work to work through. So, I mean, if we want to talk for a few minutes, Terry, we can. I'm just committed to trying to get this done this afternoon. So whatever I need to do to sew it up.
Yeah,
I'm ready.
I guess I guess that would be helpful, because that's the understanding I guess I have on my end, is that it would be an existing thing that's out there, right? I don't know how to say this, but because like you said it exactly right. So if Matt today or tomorrow met that person, that one opening, right? That one person you said looking for a job share, Matt was qualified and wanted to do that. I just don't imagine why being on leave would be a impediment to that any other than just being off the street of another job would be an impediment to that, right? It's just like he gets hired into that position. So I guess that's my ultimate question, is whether this would be an impediment should there be an opportunity and an interest in the future. Would this be the impediment to keep him from doing that? I guess that's the question that I guess I still have. So if you think you can have a conversation about that, I think that would be helpful to Matt, and then we'll have our conversation as well at the same time.
If we could only have Gary's dog, because that makes everything better, Gary.
I know.
That's not fair.
Yeah, dude, when
Gary's
did
like
you
in
get a
happy
dog?
place.
Oh,
I
you're
think
on
you're-
mute. You're on mute.
She's visiting. She's visiting. Yeah.
She's assisting you in this
Yep.
arduous task. All right, so if we'll go ahead and go stop recording, give us a caucus and a brief, as Mr. Bonner used to call it, a bio break, and we'll be right back. That sound good? What time do you guys want to be back at, Terry? How long do we need? 4:50 or 5? What the heck? 5:50?
That's fine.
5:50, and then I'll text Matt if we're not quite ready for some reason. He'll let you know. So we're gonna go ahead and go off, and I'm gonna run back out, and then I'll be right back.
Sounds good.
Okay.
Sounds good.
Thank you.
Yep.
And again, I think what you were just saying was, well, we were getting the record button pressed, is I'm just going to add some things to the chat, and then we'll jump back into where we were on the conversation. Just trying to share it that way. And since it's being recorded, there will be a record of it. And all it is the last version of the MOU. I accepted all the changes, and then the different appendixes. Is the millage MOU the one from 2020? You'll tell me.
2022.
I think that's the one I had. You'll tell me if the one I'm putting on here is the wrong one. It's not May 2021.
But we can't open the ones in the chat, Terry.
Oh, you can't even open them?
You don't have access.
Let me send it to you.
It's directly from your organization's SharePoint.
So weird that it's doing that. Let's try this way. I'm just going to email it to you too, but
Sounds good.
at least for the record, I put it in the chat. Oop. Martin, Matt, Gary, Julie, Jeff. Okay. As soon as Julie's got a second, we'll jump back on to chatting. But I just emailed to you all. So the millage is not the. I pulled the one off the website. The mirror agreement. That's not it. The one that's.
I'd have to look at it. I'll take a peek as soon as.
Thank you. I may have just grabbed the wrong one. I'm going to double check.
Yeah, these have the old dollar amounts on them.
Yeah, I think I just accidentally grabbed the wrong one. Let me see if I can get the other one.
Okay.
Village. Yeah, I got the February 8th. No, that's, see? That would have been 2021. So then that would have been through.
Terry, I got it. I'm sending it back in the email.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, sorry, they're just checking to find out when we need to get what need to get posted. If we come to a conclusion this evening, they want it posted. So to meet our agenda deadlines.
Let me take the MOU out. I'll let you know, Matt, as soon as it comes through.
I just got something from Matt.
Got it. That's the MOU. See if that's. Got it. That one's not on the website. I wonder why.
Which one?
The millage MOU that.
Yes, it is. It's just under MOUs.
I don't know why I grabbed the wrong one, but I'm just gonna add an appendix A to the top of it, consistent with the others.
Did you find the right one? Do you need me
Yep.
to? Okay.
Nope.
I'm sorry, I was on the phone, but I needed to be.
I'm gonna hit reply to all and just add this and put. I just sent it back with, I just added the little appendix A to the top of it. That was the millage. B was the evaluation. And then for this appendix C that I sent over, it is a copy of a sample instructional contract that we just removed names from. And Julie, just to be clear, I took the one that I had the draft of, said elementary school teacher.
Yep.
And I just changed it, the position description, to teacher on special assignment.
That's fine, because if that's their actual, that's what's in Skyward, that's what will populate.
Yeah, because it said he would be reclassified from his instructional personnel position to teacher on special assignment.
And it's the AC contract. This time I sent you the right one.
Yeah.
It should say instructional annual contract,
Let me double check just to be sure.
because I sent the wrong one the first time.
Yeah, instructional annual contract. And then the
Yeah.
MOU also says we will complete a teacher on special assignment contract to be executed, a copy of which is attached as Exhibit C.
Yeah, we
The only
usually do it.
difference.
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, that's good. I took off on page 1. It says chairperson of the board. It had previously Miss Power's name on it, so I think it was an older version. And if you look at the date of signature on it, it's also dated. So we'll just have to fill in the blanks and have it executed. But this is just,
Well, the
think-
contract will come out through Skyward in like October.
okay,
Our employees sign for them through Skyward in a task process.
got it.
So he'll get it then, but this is the contract we're using.
All right, so it'll populate one. Is that what you're saying?
Yes,
Okay,
yes. It'll pick up that he's AC, it'll grab that form and then it'll send it to him and then he gets a notice and he goes in and accepts it and signs it, and then it sits in his record as a signed annual contract.
got it.
And if I don't accept it, then Julie bugs me until we do, till we hit. the
That's
button.
right. I start going over there, messing with him wherever he's landing. See if he's got any good cookies or whatever else he brings. Skinny popcorn.
We do hot dogs now. Yeah.
All right. So I think I sent to you all, accepted all changes with the 3 appendices. So I think that just, you all were chatting about job share. Anything new on your end?
No, I just think we want the opportunity to explore that possibility, but my assumption again, and I don't know if this is correct, but is that if there is a job opening that he is qualified for, the fact that he's on leave doesn't necessarily preclude him from applying to that job. That's the kind of ultimate question, I think, because I don't want to sign him up without exploring that possibility if it is something that there's an interest in, I guess. I don't know if that makes sense. Sorry. Does that make sense?
Yeah, you're saying the broader question of if he didn't want to do this anymore. I mean, because
Well, I'm just yeah, I mean, I guess the broader question is if he's on leave, if some unforeseen event happens, he wants to go back to the classroom, the union decides if he can find a position that's part-time, he should try to do that. Whatever happens, there's a position posted, he's qualified, he applies. Does his existence on leave make him ineligible to even apply for a position that's open, allocated, and all that stuff is already done? That's, I guess, the ultimate question. And I don't know the answer to it, I guess. But yeah, I don't.
yeah,
So
and it's
Go
go ahead,
ahead.
Julie.
Well, you said there was something I was looking for where everything else, and at least in the contract, doesn't change, right? That he is.
You talking about the part that says where we added the language in number? Where was it?
He maintains the rights provided by law as a union officer while acting in the capacity, and then we added a sentence after that. On 9.
Yeah. I was just trying to find that, but all right. Subject to the limitations and other provisions set forth in the collective bargaining agreement. And I guess I'll sum it up by saying it this way. I think our view has always been that the CBA currently contemplates that presidential leave was for a year. The prior was for a year. The request for renewal was for the school year. I think that's for the hesitation of, I don't know what would happen. I do know in other areas where an employee returns early from leave, they're allowed to. I just don't know the answer to the question as we're sitting here about, is he locked in? If this is an MOU that is executed now, would he be locked in to being in a leave status to fulfill the MCEA's responsibility for the entire school year? Or would he be permitted at some point in time, if he chose to early exit leave and take a position that's available for which he's qualified? That's the question, and I don't think it's addressed in the CBA. Certainly not something we've talked about prior to today. I was hoping there would be an answer in the language, but there's not.
Yeah,
Look.
I looked as well. There's really not. I mean, I guess then I'd like him to have an opportunity to explore with himself and his board, with the assumption that he won't be able to return. I mean,
But if we're in
I don't-
active bargaining, that can't be something we bring up? That you bring up? If that's something that you all want to bring up, just,
And then apply retroactively?
well,
would it
we're
be
bargaining
return
it.
from leave, like employees are able to return from leave?
Well, so just looking at the collective bargaining agreement, if we're looking at F, right? And it says a leave of absence without pay for up to 1 year shall be granted to an employee upon application to campaign for or serve in a public office or as an association official. So in that language, you have the ability to take up to 1 year of absence without it being expressed as one full calendar year, whereas the presidential leave says they can take one, that the association president could take 1 year, right? So it would just be in application of that. Would we allow an employee to take less than a year and the other one and not have that same grace for I? Since it's not expressly written up to 1 year, that's out. So if what Julie is saying, we can work on that language at the bargaining table, and that would be a minimal change instead of just for 1 year leave to shall grant leave for up to 1 year would resolve that problem. At least that gives them an out with that language change. But
Yeah. I mean, I see what you're saying too with F. I mean, which is much different than I in terms of that 1 year language. But if time wasn't of the essence, I would say give us an opportunity to collectively discuss it, come back, and it may just be in addition to the MOU that says, for purposes of the 24-25 school year, fill in the blank, and we would address it that way. But I know we'd like to get this under wraps for y'all, and I don't want to misrepresent what the district would or would not do in the event it ended early without having a little bit more concrete understanding. I mean, I know practically speaking, I get what you're saying, and that is if we're willing to stop this MOU, we're going to employ the president part-time on our dime, how we want to do it. And you can let him do a job share arrangement, which fills a role. And then we're not in the business of doing MOUs on presidential leave. I think that would be helpful overall. And it makes a whole lot of sense, but that's I think a discussion I just would need to get some clarity on, but I can see all the reasons why it would make sense.
okay.
But I just don't know enough as we're talking right now to give you a concrete answer to it. I don't think it's a complicated question for what it's worth. It's just I need to understand how it would be viewed. Looking to see. There's nothing else. That F is the only one that addresses it.
But it does say, or an association official. I mean, so maybe that caveat that you have in the MOU is enough with what's in the CBA, and then having bargaining sessions all set up. I mean, I see avenues to it anyway.
Yeah, I don't think he loses rights. I mean, it says that as to what you guys have added. Where is it? You said it's not. Yeah. Maintains the rights provided by law to union officers subject to the other provisions set forth in the CBA. So, I mean, wouldn't it require a personnel action change too? Because the board presumably would approve placement in a teacher on special assignment for the annual basis. If you're going to undo that, it's going to be a reassignment, right?
It would be a transfer.
Right,
So
it'd be
we
a
would appear
transfer.
on a personnel agenda as transferring to that open position, and approved by the board. I mean, that's how we maneuver back and forth when there's an opening and someone applies for it with that's already here.
So it wouldn't really be it would actually be a transfer.
Well, because he would already
Even more
be, working in the
Sure.
capacity of a teacher on assignment. And now there is a transfer window that opens like in April to June. And then transfers are typically like, because it's different with Matt, but typically the principal from one school talks to the principal of the other school. And in the contract, it basically says if they agree, then that person can transfer outside the transfer window, meeting the needs of
Right.
one school versus another. So, but the job share is just different than that, really. but if he does
Right,
full
that's
release, he's still listed as an employee and it's a pass-through basically for the teacher on assignment, right? But as far as our records are concerned, he's a teacher on special assignment. So then he would be a teacher transferred to another position. It's just something we've never done before, which is like what Terry identified as well.
Yeah.
So I'm just thinking
Yeah.
of different
Yeah.
ways, but
No, now that makes sense because we're actually a teacher on assignment, so we wouldn't be returning from leave. You would be transferring into an existing job shared position, which is subject to the transfer window, is possible under the collective bargaining agreement for which he retains his rights. So
mhm.
that may
I
give
think you're
some comfort in the ability to, if this is necessary, to do that, maybe. Because it's a little different than what I was thinking when you say it like that, which is better.
Transfers are policy 3130.01. Superintendent may transfer an instructional staff member to a position in another school with the approval of the school board. Normally seek the approval of both principals before making the recommendation. They can an instructional staff member may request a transfer to a similar position or to a different position in another school at any time, but the transfer will not be made except at the regular reappointment period. That's April through June, Julie.
Yeah, it's like there's I don't know, like this year was April 23rd till June 30.
Got it. Is there anything in the CBA that addresses transfer that's inconsistent with that? Let's see.
No, I don't know if it's inconsistent. I think it's consistent with that.
Not inconsistent, I'm sorry. Adds to it is what I meant to say.
What is our meeting is the 22nd?
Yes.
The only reason I'm thinking is the last conversation that we've had was that, we were proposing this part-time, at least it was an option. And, now we're kind of potentially foreclosing any sort of change to this. And I want to make sure that Matt is comfortable, that his people are comfortable with where we are now. Cause I don't know if it's changed. It may have changed from what we said. I don't know, Matt. I don't know. Our board meeting is the 22nd and our posted deadline is Friday.
The posted deadline was yesterday, so they're allowing us to post it tonight. That's why they were calling me to see if we were done yet. Because Michael sent the the board clerk home, and I'm supposed to get it to her tonight if it gets signed. And she'll post it this evening.
Julie, do we still have the option of getting it on the agenda for August 6th?
Yes, we would have the option of August 6th, but again, we really didn't feel like that was optimal for you. Yeah, there's voluntary transfers are on 28 and involuntary are 29.
Yep.
But it would be 28. You already looking at that, Terry?
Yeah, I'm
You're
looking.
way
It's
faster
on,
than me.
Oh, I word searched it on a PDF, so.
I know I'm old. Look, I have my pink book and I'm so happy with my book.
Yeah, it still speaks to transfer window on the last workday in June.
Which it goes on the 248 calendar, which is my calendar, which would be June 30th. Assuming, well, this year I think it was June 28th or whatever that might be.
Yeah, this.
Yeah, it's just it's kind of messy. But I think man, I think we need to have this conversation, Matt. I mean, I don't want to foreclose something that is an idea of something you want to do without even considering it. I mean, I'm just a little hesitant to do that. And I know we're under time crunches for all this stuff. I don't want to be stuck. I don't want you to be stuck, frankly. I don't know. That's what I think. Unfortunately, I think we are. Are you still there?
Yeah, I am. I don't know about them.
Everyone went blank on my screen.
Oh no. Matt's just thinking, I guess. Yeah, he's thinking.
And nodding my head on occasion. Yeah. No, I'm trying to talk to some of my e-board members and see if I can get some guidance from them as well.
So can I clearly understand your question in case I'm asked to articulate it later when we got so close? And then, Terry, do you feel comfortable that you can clearly articulate that question?
The one about the leave question that Martin posed?
Yeah, but he's actually not
yeah.
on leave. It says.
He's on unpaid leave, but he's getting a contract to fulfill a teaching position while on unpaid leave.
So he could transfer.
I mean, you have a contract in an instructional personnel position, then presumably, yes, it wouldn't be.
There's avenues. Are they black and white right this second? But there's avenues. There's negotiating it. It's in the contract for which you have continued to have the ability to exercise anything within the contract. So you'll be listed as a teacher on assignment to complete pass-through, right? Because the money's going to come from the union, but that is transparent.
Yeah. I mean, I think ultimately I'm trying to think of the best way to, if I'm even right.
I just want to make sure it's really clear if we step away right now that we have knowledge of what your concern is, because it's still kind of cloudy to me as we whipped around a little bit.
I got the concern.
No,
I think the
understand.
concern is the Martin's question that I think, Julie, we would have to, well, if Matt wanted to contemplate it too, or for us to be able to get further direction, is if at any point during this school year, MCEA for whatever reason, or Mr. Theobald for whatever reason, wanted to say, you know what, the MCEA teacher on assignment thing's not working for us. He's going to go back to the classroom, either A, full-time, or B, through some type of job share arrangement. Would the MOU prohibit him from doing that because the MOU contemplates 24-25 school entire year? And so it raises that question. One was just in general, could he go right back to the classroom? And then question two was, does the May 1 deadline for teacher on assignment, for job sharing in any way impede that? And I think if we could give answers to both of those questions, they'd make the decision right now. My guess.
Correct.
Even with the situation with the release, if it's not in our collective bargaining agreement, can a sentence that allows him to be released from it just be simply added to the MOU, and we could be done with this? Like, if this sunsets at the end of the academic year, what's the harm in giving him an out to say, I don't want to pursue this past this particular date? Just give them let's give the board a timeline in which we can make that request so that it's not just sprung on them in the spur of the moment. Let's give them a 2-week, 3-week heads up that we would want to terminate the agreement. I think that we're going around in circles when that's the simplest fix.
Yeah, you're right.
Could that be in the termination clause?
Yeah, I think that you're right. It's truth and jest, right? So we should just have a language, a line in this MOU that allows us to terminate it if it's beneficial. Because, like, hypothetically, if there's a financial concern, there's an overwhelming amount of members that drops and it's an effect to our budget, and we feel that it's not fiscally feasible for us to continue with this arrangement, we should be able to say, you know what, this isn't working fiscally for us. We want to terminate this agreement. I think that that's feasible, and it does no harm to either party.
To me, I think if you want to try, well, let me send a message. Hold on.
Okay.
I get what you're asking. Just bear with me.
Thank you, Gary, for cutting through all my trying to get to where you are.
Okay. How about we do this? Can we take another 10 minutes? Let us have a conversation and see if there's an avenue for adjusting this potentially just through the MOU. Okay.
Yep.
So let's do that. Let's take a caucus till 6:35, and then we'll come back on and we'll go back.
Sounds good.
Thank you. Appreciate you.
All
Thanks.
right,
Thank you,
I'm going
gentlemen.
to stop recording.
Got it.
Okay. Yep. Let's see if it hits the chat. Yep. Okay. Yeah. It says recording has started. So I think the questions that you pose, I just don't think we can answer them right now. And if that's something that you need additional time or you need to have the answer to, then I think the only thing we can pledge is we will go and make the proposal to what Gary had said about adding some language to the MOU to reflect that. I went ahead during the break and I tried to draft into the MOU what I think Gary was saying. And I think what we can pledge to you is we'll run it through our team and get feedback as to whether the modification would be appropriate or not. And then I think it's not a 4-hour bargaining session. I think it's a 10-minute yay or nay. I'll share with you what I did and see if it captures what you're asking, if I can do this. Gentlemen,
Yeah.
I just tried to move it along. Tell me if you see an MOU on the screen.
Do.
Okay,
Well,
so I
yes.
didn't do it in red line, but I will point out to you what I changed. Where is it? There was actually a typo too, and it's in. Okay, so I added number 13. Take a look at that. Oop, I'm sorry, guys and gal.
Yeah, I think that's I think that does, and I think that's just a little comfort level. I mean, similar to the comfort level you guys had with some of your things. I think that would provide our folks a little comfort level just to know that there was some exit in case of emergency. So I do think I would appreciate you guys having that conversation.
That's what and then I will point out I added this too, just because it says
Which
the
one?
MOU on number 15, the first sentence where it says,
Okay, there it is. Sorry.
I just incorporated that there are 2 other sunset provisions in the MOU. So it's really just all the way up to the comma. I added that.
Okay.
Okay.
And then there was one spot.
Gary, does that capture it?
That
capture
captures
it?
exactly what I was
I
looking
think
for.
it does. Yeah.
Okay. And I think I'm sorry, there was one other point where that's off. I think this said paragraph 9, and I changed it to 8 because the indemnification's in 8. But everything else, I'll send this to you,
Okay.
and this is what we'll present and get the feedback on, which would make this, I guess, the 29th board meeting, Julie. Probably not the 22nd. I don't think there'd be time to do that unless maybe, when does that agenda have to get?
For the 29th?
Or for the 22nd, there's probably not time between now and then, right?
No, I had to have this done. I mean, this was drop dead today
For
I
the
mean-
22nd.
for the 22nd, yes.
Okay.
And, I mean, basically, they gave us all or nothing, and wasn't contemplated, asking for this. So it was either, you know what I'm saying? So I just want you to know, they had given us all or nothing. We're gonna go back with this and see. Harry, I don't know if you want to expound upon that, but.
Yeah, no, I think, yeah, we had what we needed to get it done. And I just think we gotta run this new question by. And I think we'll
So-
have a better direction after that takes place as to whether that would be acceptable. But I think we framed the issue.
We framed the issue. We'll see where we can get, if they're willing for us to even bring anything back. At this point, it looks like the 22nd, the agenda has to post. It's due on the 19th. So, it's possible we could make it for the 29th.
Okay. And then, so I guess we'll just need to see when on our end, we might be able to have what we need to have done. And then I guess we could just schedule another follow-up session like this solely on that, really that one issue. Because I think everything else we're with each
That's
other
right.
on. Okay, I'm gonna send an email to you all.
Okay. Hold on.
The titling's off, but I just sent an email saying incorporation of the language as of 6:44.
All right. So, we'll talk logistics after we get off recording.
Yep. So I think we're good. Are y'all, I guess we'll just follow up with you and try to let you know first date we can all jump on real quick and
Yeah,
have a short follow-up
And the
meeting.
goal is, you said that's posting 19th, so then it'll be tomorrow or Friday.
Well, if you want to go off recording, we can just talk about dates real quick. Or do you want to stay on the record? Whatever you guys want to do.
I think I think you can talk on the record about potential dates for when we
Well,
would need
the-
to meet again. I'm okay
Well,
with
the
that.
board will be together on the 22nd for the workshop. So maybe there's a way for a brief executive session on the 22nd for you, Terry, if you're available that evening. It's a policy workshop as well. And so they will be, together.
Look,
So that would be then, I mean, it's past the dates, but if they say, okay, on the 22nd, then the board chair can agree to allow it to go on the 29th. But
And then
that's
we
all,
just
again,
have to have a session to bless that. I'll tell you on the 22nd, and maybe this is where Jeff steps in. I don't know what his plans are. I'm supposed to be in a evidentiary hearing on the 22nd all day. And it's the last day hearing, so it has the potential to be one of those like 8 or 9 p.m. deals. But I think this is a 5-minute to 10-minute follow-up chat. Jeff, I don't know if you have 5 or 10 minutes on the 22nd on your schedule or not.
and Martin,
And Mark, I'm so sorry. Yeah, there's everybody. If it's not the 22nd and it needs to be the 23rd, I've got availability then. If everybody else does.
I could do the 22nd.
I could do the 23rd, 24th.
Yeah,
So we could
I'll
do
just
it-
make it work. Yeah.
I mean, I'll have to ask, but the policy workshop, it looks like it's from 4 to 5:30 on my calendar. But then so I've seen it happen where they get them there at 3:30 and bring them in the superintendent's office and do it, or after the policy workshop would be 5:30 and it's not like it's 8 o'clock at night or something, so it's possible. I mean, we have some 3 of our board members don't work and 2 of them do, so some of them need time, but so we can see if we can do it either before or after the policy workshop on the 22nd. Or that's not the day. No, that's not. Okay. So that's all I can say is try to get an executive session on the 22nd and then give you an answer and get it posted.
Okay. So
And then
I
if it's
guess
the 23rd, we'll just have to work on speaking with each other about dates.
So
we'll just stay in touch with
Gary
you
and I
all.
are going to be with you all for labor relations on the 23rd anyway. So we
Yeah,
could-
at 11, I see that.
So if
Okay.
if not in that meeting, maybe Gary, just a few minutes beforehand, we could do it. We could do it before that meeting on the 23rd.
Yep. I'm good before or after that meeting.
Same.
Okay.
Cool. Appreciate it, guys.
Yep.
Yeah,
Thank you all.
and if there's only one thing that I could add, Terry, is just to communicate to the board that with this final piece that we're proposing is just to get one protection considered from our side, as we've considered all of the concerns that the board has. Even if it didn't make sense to us, we still were willing to concede our point and allow them to have that protection. And this is the only protection that we're asking to be allowed, because we don't want anything to happen where we're not meeting our end of the bargain and then this agreement has to be terminated. So I just think that in all fairness, to take that into consideration, it's a very, very small request. We're not even sure that we would be exercising that. Just the opportunity to have it and not need it than to need it and not have it.
Understood. I understand that.
It's worth pointing out that there's already a termination clause for other reasons in the agreement, so it's already been considered on that point.
I'm aware.
Okay.
Indeed.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you guys. Sorry we
I
didn't get this
appreciate
done,
it.
but we're getting there.
Oh, so close.
Oh my
Thank you,
gosh.
guys.
Thank y'all.
No problem.
Yep.
Bye, guys.
All right, Terry, I do need to talk to you, not bargaining related.